It's been said that nothing changes you like change. Well, actually, that's never been said. I just said it here for the first time, but it's true that nothing changes you like new experiences, right? Changing your practice venue, your instrument, your amp, even your audience can reveal new perspectives, give you new insights into how your sound works, into how your music and musicianship work. If you want to be a really great player, if you want to know the secret of the pros, it's to experience everything from every possible angle. As the man said, are you experienced? Let's talk about it. Let's get nerdy. I'm Andy Schneider, career musician turned guitar coach, producer, and author of over 100 books from my publishing company, Seeing Music Books. I was a high school band nerd, then a devoted jazz guy, then a backing musician for great artists in every type of music. From Austin to Nashville to New York City, I've learned from my musical experiences and the great musicians that were there with me. I'm a self-taught guitarist, but I was lucky enough to get the right bits of education early on in my career. Pairing that with the many conversations I've shared with more experienced musicians put me on the path to success, a path that built my skills to become the experienced, confident musician audiences enjoy today. I created the Guitar Nerd podcast to give you simple steps to building and growing your musical knowledge, having greater abilities, and getting that amazing music that's inside of you out and into the world where we can all enjoy it. Whether you're a beginner or experienced guitar or bass player, if you want to make fantastic music, you're in the right place, my friend. Now let's get nerdy. Welcome back, musicians. Welcome back, my guitaristic friends. My name is Andy Schneider. Yeah, bass player and guitar nerd in general. Yeah, this is the place where we talk all the nerdy stuff about guitars and bass and all the things that you need to assemble to be a great player. Yeah, and to make great music, because that's what all of this stuff is about, is getting the ideas and the sound that's inside of you out. And it takes a lot of knowledge of technique, it takes a lot of knowledge of theory, and it takes a lot of knowledge about your gear. And we talk about all those three things every week on this show. I just spent the weekend playing with my old college band. In fact, Box 10 played a wonderful venue down in southeast Iowa. And boy, I've got some stuff to report. Learned lots of things about myself, about music, reflected on a few things. And for that reason, we're having a special emergency meeting of Guitar Nerd. It's not really an emergency, but I am calling an audible. I was planning on talking about guitar equipment this week and the game killers that might be lurking inside your guitar. But I was reminded of something really important this weekend, which is that experience grows your music. Without experience, it's pretty tough to make great music. And I want to talk about what that is and how it was reinforced to me this weekend. Well, whether you're new to playing or whether you're an old dog like me, I think you're going to find something here to energize your music this week, something to propel you into the next week with a new outlook and a new direction to take your music. Oh, I wanted to remind everybody, before I get into it too far, that I've got a new book on the market right now. It just hit stores this week. It's called Beginning Bass Scales and Exercises. I'm really excited about it. This is a book that shows you your first scales, shows them to you in a variety of positions, shows them to you with some rhythmic interest, and it's really the exact same way that I learned to be a great bass player. Great bass playing and great musicianship in general relies on a lot of scale knowledge. And so I started learning scales from some book somewhere, and then they started getting me into exercises built out of those scales, which really reinforced my memory and got my fingers much more facile, much more easily able to manage all kinds of different scales and bass riffs. And the more that I learned about all kinds of music, I would find myself going back to that scale knowledge and saying, oh, this riff from this Led Zeppelin song, that's just coming from this scale. Oh, I can relate now. Maybe I can even write my own riff. It's kind of like it based on the knowledge of the two things that I've got already. So I really wanted to put down in a book the fundamental stuff that got me going in the direction where I am today. The book is Beginning Bass Scales and Exercises. The left-handed version is about to hit stores this week. And if you want to check it out, go to my website. It's seeingmusicbooks.com/beg-bass-scales. That's seeingmusicbooks.com/beg for beginning -bass-scales. Beginning bass scales and exercises. It is packed. I believe it's over 90 pages with many, many scales and exercises to get you started. Even if you've never played a scale before, it takes you right from that first scale from day one up through having some fun with it and really seeing how to get up and down scales in a musical fashion that you can imagine bringing bass lines out of, right? Of getting some bass lines happening out of just some scale knowledge. There's over 40 exercises with videos. And if you go to that website I just gave you, over 40 exercises have videos so you can hear the pitches and the rhythm at the same time while you're watching the music play. While you're watching the music play, hear it and stay on the right track. It's really the best way to begin your practice and your experience with scales. I think it's a fun book. And if you're new to bass scales, I think you're going to really enjoy it. Well, on to the episode. We're talking about how change changes you, how experience makes you, wiser, but a better musician. And I'd like to give you a couple of examples from my own personal life. And while this may be a short episode, I think it's one of the most important things that I can say to every single one of you, which is seek out change. Walk into the uncomfortable gladly. You may not succeed in the way that you thought you would. Like, you probably can't even imagine how a different room, how having new acoustics, or just a different layout can throw off your music, can leave you kind of in the dust and feeling like you just got blindsided. And how did I not know that that sort of room, maybe it's a boomy room, or maybe it's a very reverberant room, or maybe it's a very dead room. How did I not know that that would change how I kind of experienced my own playing or how the audience heard it? But it will. Let me just give you a few examples, a few chapters from my playing experience that changed me. As we're developing as players, we kind of get used to a routine. We have the same practice room, same practice time of day. We've got our favorite guitar, favorite amp, usual pedals, usual volume that we practice at, and we're just working to keep it all together with that. Well, a few parameters can change dynamically as you venture forth making music. Let me give you an example. The venue that you play in. Maybe it's your practice room. Maybe it's a coffee shop. Maybe it's a live stage. Maybe it's an outdoor stage. Practicing in different spaces can drastically affect your sound and your perception of yourself. Try moving your practice space. If you usually practice in your bedroom, try a different sort of acoustic space or a different size of room. Try it down the basement. Try it outside on the porch. Try playing in a large hall, maybe something with a lot of reverb. You'll notice many different things about your sound, about your tone, about your projection. You'll notice things about your dynamics, and perhaps you'll find some areas that need improvement. For example, back in the 90s, I used to play with my band 6240, and we were loud, and we loved feedback and lots of craziness. Kind of a Jimi Hendrix meets the Nirvana kind of thing. Well, I was used to playing very live rooms. Most rock clubs at the time were, in say like a brick bar or a brick venue. They had a lot of liveliness, and I used that to get a lot of feedback going. The build of your room and what the walls are made of has a lot to do with your sound and how it's perceived by you and others. Well, I was used to these live rooms, and I would get feedback going on command, and I could really feather it in and command it. And then I ended up in Minneapolis on one of the biggest stages there, which was very dead. They had it padded down very well to intentionally keep down unwanted feedback. Most players didn't love having feedback. It was sort of something that we tried to get rid of, right? And I ended up on a very dead studio-like stage, and I couldn't play well at all. My whole game was shot. Everything that I used at every point in this show to build excitement, to make the statement I was there, it was all gone. Just my legs were gone from underneath me. And I went home dejected. I went home really dejected, and I would ruminate, and I would think about that gig, and I thought about that gig for years and years. It kicked my tail up and down, and I felt very embarrassed. And years went by, and the call came to get back to that stage in Minneapolis. And I went, okay, I think I'm older and wiser now. And I went back and had a great show that time. Now, what had changed? I wasn't using feedback as much at that time. It was not a big part of my sound. And that was something that I learned by relying perhaps a little too much on one device or letting feedback become a crutch of my playing. And so by metering that and not relying on any one thing, on any one sonic component, I had a more balanced approach. It was a better strategy for ending up on all kinds of stages. Could I still use feedback if I wanted to? Sure, of course, but I didn't need it to have a great set. My set was made up now of more and more things and more interesting things, probably. Well, that was a wake-up call, and it changed me. Okay, another example, instruments and gear. Oh, yeah. Switching up your instrument or gear will also give you some fresh insights. Switch guitars. Maybe trade with a buddy for a week. Can you still do it? Sometime, at some point in your musical journey, in your career, you're going to end up in a situation where somebody asks you, for example, to sit in. And if you're a, say, Strat player or a P-bass player, they don't have one of those, but they do have this guitar, and they put something very different in your hands. Maybe a hollow body or a 12-string or an acoustic bass or a fretless bass. There you go. Do you still have good music to play in that situation? Do you still have good technique? Well, having things switched around on you intentionally will prepare you for the inevitable. And the inevitable is that things are going to change, sometimes unexpectedly. Sometimes you'll get to the gig and your trusty guitar, that Stratocaster, just won't play any music. Some electronics have gone wrong inside of it. I've had that happen. Just the jack went dead, apparently, as I pulled it out of the gig bag, and now I don't have a guitar. So somebody hands you a very unfamiliar guitar. Will you still be able to make music, or are you dead in the water? Having a little bit of preparation and having experimented with different instruments, maybe a different amplifier, is going to prepare you for avoiding what could be a potentially very embarrassing moment. So, small changes, just like adjusting your amp settings even, can open up a world of new sounds, inspire different playing ideas, and prepare you to be a readied player, somebody that's ready to make music in any instance. People often wonder, how can pros be so great? How can they be so magical all the time? And the answer, if you ask me, if you ask this humble guitar nerd, is that they came prepared. And they came prepared not only with the right instruments and ideas and hours of great practice, but they came prepared with the value of experience. They've already played on, say, a television stage. They know what those sound like. They do sound different. They've already played in front of a huge crowd. They've already played on an enormous stage, too far from the organ player to be able to hear them. Which leads me to another little bit of experience that came to light this weekend. I was playing the show, as I mentioned, with my college band, Box 10. We were playing this wonderful venue called Codfish Hollow Barnstormers. Yeah. It's down near Makokata, Iowa. It's in the southeast corner. It's an old historic barn that sounds divine. It's like it was almost built to have rock bands play in the back of it. It's an old hay barn, I believe. Well, they treat you very well there. They've got a great professional setup. And we'd played there before. In fact, we played almost a year to the day ago at this same venue. And we didn't really take our time getting a good, thorough sound check. And as a result, we played the show and didn't really walk away feeling like we'd done our best. Things kind of went wrong because we couldn't hear each other well. A big stage will sometimes eat the sound from one side to the other, so I couldn't really hear what was happening on the opposite side, nor could I hear what the drummer was exactly doing when he would play small little things. And all of us kind of felt like we got beaten up by ourselves, and we blamed ourselves for a year for having not taken our time to make sure that we were thoroughly ready for that showtime. Well, this year, we said we're not going to do that. We're going to make certain that we get a good sound check in us. And we did, and it paid off. We played one of our best shows ever because it's a great stage, and we made sure that we had the things we needed, like the ability to hear each other. Experience made that show this weekend so good for us and the audience because we'd been through a similar experience and learned from it. So that's what I encourage you to do, is intentionally get out and try changing everything you've got, maybe one thing at a time. Start with change your instrument. Start with change your amp. You'll be amazed at what you hear. Changing these elements about your practice, about your craft, not only prepare you for the inevitable, which is when things change without your permission, but it also changes how you do things every minute in between. It's going to change your approach every time you sit down to make music. There'll be somewhere in your mind thinking, okay, don't forget, you need a good sound check. Don't forget, things sound boomy in a boomy room. Maybe you'll need to adjust how much bass you use. Too much bass in a boomy room, bad thing. I learned that by experience. So Go get that experience. As the man said, are you experienced? You'll be able to say, I am. Well, this was a different kind of episode. This isn't the sort of thing that if you came to my house for a lesson that we'd end up spending the entire time talking about. But it is one of those things I like to hand to players after the lesson. It's something powerful to ruminate on. The change is a powerful catalyst. It's a catalyst for growth in your own musicianship. By altering your environment, gear, even the audience you play for, you can uncover new strengths and areas for improvement that'll benefit you every day hereafter. Change it up, make better music. Thanks to everybody for subscribing. It's great seeing you every week. Now, next week is Game Killers. Is your guitar holding you back? Is your bass holding you back? How would you know? Sometimes our very instrument is actually getting in the way of us making the music that we want. But how would you know? If you haven't had the experience of playing every guitar in the world, you might not be aware of how much you're missing and how much it's killing your technique and your tone. So I'm going to have some tips for you, things to ask yourself as you journey forward. Is your guitar holding you back? You got great music inside of you. My guitar nerdistic friends, let's get it out. Let's get into the world. That music inside of you is beautiful and everybody needs to hear it. The experience of this week is going to propel you into the week after and the week after. Mix it up. You can do this. Experiment with change. See how it transforms your playing. Until next time, have a great nerdy week. I'm Andy Schneider, and you've been listening to Guitar Nerd. I've always had a taste for the sweeter things.